Hello everyone, this is Sean Marble again, and you're here with the Marble Block. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment on the channel. We appreciate any feedback from you guys. Today we're going to talk about tenancy. We're going to talk about tenancy and different types of tenancy. It's a very important thing to be aware of if you're purchasing any type of real estate. How do you own that real estate? Who you're purchasing that real estate with? I'm going to talk about this in a real world way so that you understand all the types of ways that you can have someone on a deed, which is basically what tenancy means. Who's on the deed and how you own that piece of property together. The first tenancy that I'll talk about is something called joint tenants. Joint tenants is probably one of the more common elements when you're purchasing a property with someone. Joint tenants allows for you to have something called survivorship rights. Survivorship rights means if someone passes owns the property with you, then the surviving person owns the property outright by statute. What that means is if you buy a property with boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, and you buy that property with joint tenancy on the deed, if that person passes away, or if you do, you don't have to go through court, probate. The property automatically goes to the surviving member of the property. This is what you see mostly in a real estate transaction. Another tenancy is a tenancy called tenants in common. Tenants in common is much different with regards to survivorship rights. As again, joint tenancy, whoever's last to live owns the property. Okay? Joint tenancy allows for that across the board. Tenants in common, however, allows for you and whoever you're buying the property with to actually break out a percentage interest of the property ownership. What does that mean? That means essentially you have 100%, right? Everything starts with that. If you're buying a property with a partner, a friend, whoever's putting up the money, you can negotiate and say, look, I'm putting up all the money. I want to have 80% of this property, okay? You have 20%, I have 80%. So you own that. As long as both of you are alive and able, you own that property as tenants in common with your percentage interest. However, when the person passes away, whether it be yourself or the other person you purchased the property with, their interest goes to their heirs. It doesn't go to the person who survives. Same as joint tenancy, where it goes to the person who survives. Tenants in common does not. So I'll give you a perfect example. Say you're buying a property with a friend. You go in there together as investors. One person puts up the money, as I mentioned. That person has 80%, you have 20%. If you pass away, the 20% has to go through probate, and it actually goes to your heirs. So the person who survives cannot sell that property without having an estate established for your part of the property. This is very important because if you're buying a property with an investor, with a friend, someone who's not a partner or a spouse, then you can run into buying a property with people's family without even knowing it. Because if they have a child, if they are married but they weren't purchasing property with their spouse, that person's interest most likely will go to their direct heir, meaning a spouse, meaning a child. In turn, you end up owning that property with that person. So be very careful about that if you're going with a tenancy in common. The other tenancy, which is called tenants by the entirety, this is reserved for married couples, domestic partners. Sometimes there's a common law marriage provision, but typically you're talking about domestic partners registered in that state, or husband and wife, or spouse, husband and husband, wife and wife, however, you are married. That time you have survivorship rights, same as joint tenancy. So each person, if someone dies, it goes directly to the surviving person automatically. You don't have to go to court, you don't have to go to probate. The person who survives owns the property. The other protection that you have with tenants by the entirety is if someone sues one of you individually, it does not attach against the property. So for instance, say you buy a property with your spouse. Your spouse is sued by someone. If you own that property, tenants by the entirety, as long as it's an individual suit against that one person, it does not attach against the home as a lien. This is very important. So anyone who's married has to take advantage of this option 100% of the time, because you have that added extra bonus of protection. You have survivorship rights with joint tenancy, and you have survivorship rights with tenants by the entirety. Both of those protect you. If someone passes away, you own that property outright, whoever survives. Tenants in common, you do not have that right. So tenants in common allows for you to give a percentage interest, and that percentage interest will go to the heirs. Very simply put, be sure to know when you're buying a piece of property what type of tenancy that you want to go into that property ownership with them. Very, very important. So that's our segment. Like I said, we want to keep this very simple. We want to keep this very piecemeal. Please like, please subscribe, please comment. We appreciate all feedback. And this is again is Sean Marble with the Marble Block. Thank you very much.